Tell them I'm a winner, yeah, the believer. Give thanks, and when me a bleed, set speed, I carry on now. Big man in town, them shoulda know say me I keep it crown, yeah. Plant seeds, work feed, well enough of them want ready born. When the food gone so long, them run, and them can't be found. Still man fight the fight, me not give in. Day and night, me keep on building. Way of life, me breathe out, breathing. Oh, 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 oh. Tell them I'm a winner, yeah. Pop down a Jonah, turn in a sinner. Oh, man still a believer. Even if we get knocked down, we keep the bounce. Now see me front, you got me from a little and a grow. Come on a winner, yeah. Still a believer.
Yeah, yo, it's game time, ain't no messing around. Huddle Sports Network, the best in town. From NFL rumors to the latest trends, we got all your sports, just tune in, my friends. Catch us on Roku, Fire Stick, take your pick. Facebook, YouTube, where the action's slick. Daily shows that drop like a bomb. From 10 to 11, it's Ken and Ken, stay calm. Huddle up, catch the vibe, feel the rush. Get your news, get your fills in the clutch. Over 27 podcasts, we breaking it down. Join the team, Huddle Sports, wear the crown. Live every weekday, it's how we roll. Lions Talk with Jeremy B, we taking a stroll. From 11 to 12, don't miss a beat. We break down the game, make the info sweet. The Daily Huddle Podcast, noon to 1. CST Zone, we're just having fun. Toss your doubts, we bring the facts. Tune into the Huddle.
The time it take to take it, the time it take to win.
Yeah, tell them I'm a winner, yeah, the believer. Give thanks, and when me a bleed, set speed, I carry on now. Big man in town, them shoulda know say me I keep it crown, yeah. Plant seeds, work feed, well enough of them want ready born. When the food gone so long, them run, and them can't be found. Still man fight the fight, me not give in. Day and night, me keep on building. Way of life, me breathe out, breathing. Oh, 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 oh. Tell them I'm a winner, yeah. Now pop down a Jonah, turn in a sinner. Oh, man still a believer. Even if we get knocked down, we keep the bounce. Now see me front, you got me from a little and a grow. Come on a winner, yeah. Still a believer.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Prim and Proper Sports. I am your host here, Sonia Pearson. Welcome again to another edition. I had to run some of our credits back because I believe in making sure that we get all the shares out before I come on. And tonight I'm going to introduce to some and reintroduce to others a longtime colleague and friend here of the network. Of course, we've done some changes, but we're still on all the platforms, social media connected, and still on the YouTube affiliate. And before we go further, I want to make sure that everyone knows that we're dedicating all of our shows to our producer friend, Mac McGrath, and want to wish a happy birthday to Bistrilla, my co-producer, my co-host, and friend on the No BS show and so many other shows. But tonight, guys, it's always my privilege to bring back to our stage world-renowned. Now, he's going to get on me about this, but in my opinion, he's world-renowned boxing Hall of Fame writer and co-host of the Glove Fist and all the shows we have on the network, none other than my friend, Jack Hirsch. Good evening, Jack. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, good evening, Sonia. Sonia, you want to know something? You have to put up with me tonight, no matter what I say. You want to know why? Because I'm your guest. I'm not a co-host. When I co-host the show with you, you could say to me whatever you want. I mean, technically, you still can. You're in the driver's seat, but I'm your guest. So you're going to have to put up
Absolutely.
with me a little more than usual.
Absolutely. And good evening to you, Jay Train. Our first comment here. He said, it's on tonight. Sonya Jack on Late at Night. Must be a full moon. Thanks, Jay Train. Jack, you look great. I love the shirt. You got a different backdrop here. I mean, you definitely got all dolled up for the guest feature, I see.
Well, no, you know what it is? I do like to dress up, even though it's not apparent in the morning shows. And let me explain why. I'm going to let you in a little secret, because I'm normally working out as soon as the show ends. I'm going to the gym. I'm going out running. And you've been quite an inspiration, Sonia, the way, you've been working out really hard, with your trainer, who, kudos to him, he's doing a good job with you.
Shout out, Malik.
Even he advised you the right way in the boxing part of it I was watching. So he's doing a heck of a job. Yeah.
Thank you, Jack. That means a lot.
But it's night, it's night already here. So, I'm relaxed, whatever. And I have a nice wardrobe. I need an excuse to dress up now and then.
Well, I had to make sure, before we go further, tell our fans about your show, The Glove Fist, and all the other shows you're on, in case this is some of our newer audience members. And go ahead and give a shout out to your grandson. I know he's watching.
Yeah, well, he's having some technical difficulties. He might see the replay on it. I don't know. He's in Utah now, and it's amazing. I mean, he's 11 years old. And I didn't realize what a big basketball fan he is. He's sending me text messages about deals made. And I gotta Google a couple of these players, because they hardly get in and hardly have any playing time, but they move from one team to the next, and he's on top of that situation. So
you got a co-host in training there, Jack.
Yeah. I mean, with the NBA. And very quickly, Glove Fist boxing show I do at Frank Latour's on 7 p.m. Eastern time every Monday night. So if you want to hear the best in boxing and you want to hear some real old school talk, I mean, tune in to Frank and myself.
Yeah, you guys have had some amazing guests on there, and I have had the pleasure of serving behind the scenes as producer. And now we are handing those reins over to Brian Bistrilla. So happy birthday to him again. He's filling in the gap. And for all our friends on the platform, Jack, let's go ahead and get started with our show. The big news today, the Knicks have their guy, Sacramento Kings, Mike Brown. Was this a shocker?
Well, do they really have their guy? That's the thing about it. They could have hired Mike Brown within 3 days, okay, after they let go Tibbs. They could have very quickly come to an agreement with Mike Brown, but it's taken all this time. So I'm not sure whether they have their guy or not, because I think they were looking to make a big splash, James Dolan, and Jay Wright immediately disqualified himself from the job. Jay Wright probably would have been the best hire because of the Villanova connection. Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, who played for him at Villanova. And for him to have those guys, again on the Knicks, it would have been a great, great fit. But listen, Mike Brown has been around the league a lot of years. He's a good, competent coach. I don't think people should criticize this move. Mike Brown was as an assistant coach on 4 championship teams, a combination under Coach Popovich at San Antonio and under Steve Kerr, Golden State. He was a 2-time coach of the year with the Sacramento Kings. He had a decent run, with the Cleveland Cavaliers. So Mike Brown's, he's been around a while. He's a good, competent coach. It's a solid hire. But the question, of course, people asking, do you really fire Tibbs to hire a Mike Brown? If you're going to fire Tibbs, you want to make a splash.
Right.
You really want to get the big name out there, like a Jay Wright. And, I don't know what the Knicks' strategy was. Let's say the Knicks did get their way once Jay Wright eliminated himself from the job right off the bat. If, let's say, make believe 1 second, Sonia, the Knicks did get Jason Kidd. The Mavs gave the Knicks permission. would Jason Kidd be an upgrade from Tom Thibodeau? I mean, I don't see the
Yeah.
upgrade, you know? He's not playing point guard for the Knicks. He's, coaching on the bench, and Kidd has been a decent coach, but no more than a decent coach.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you, Jack. I feel the same way. I mean, Brown earned his second award as the NBA's top coach after leading the Kings to the playoffs in 22-23, which was it. He ended the league's longest postseason drought, honestly, with his first appearance since 2006. But then the Kings, like you said, fired him nearly halfway through last season. I don't understand. This is literally an indicator that there was no plan in place for letting go of Thibodeau.
Yeah, well, no, there wasn't. And the Thibodeau firing came as a surprise because they did go to the Eastern Conference Finals. It was disappointing losing to Indiana. That was a winnable series. Let's be honest about it. Had the Knicks lost to Detroit, we wouldn't hear all these complaints about Thibodeau being let go. Had they lost to the Celtics, had they gone down in like 5 games to the Celtics, we wouldn't have heard any of the complaints because there was some talk about the Knicks, possibly letting Thibodeau go before the playoffs. There was some whispers, but then the Knicks went on a decent playoff run. They won the series against the Pistons and Celtics, and they lose in 6 games to Indiana, who took OKC to 7 games in the finals. And you kind of wonder, but think of the pressure Mike Brown's under. I'm sure, I don't know how many years he has on his contract, but it's standard that when you sign a new coach, especially an established coach, he gets anywhere from 3 to 5 years. And we don't know what, so Mike Brown is in all probability going to be given more than this year, but the Knicks are ready to win now. With that said, they are ready to win now, and especially, they made a quiet under the radar move, picking up Jordan Clarkson from the Utah Jazz, who, even though his shooting stats, a little off, he's really a good shooter if he's in form. And he's going to be a really good piece off the bench. And even though he's not going to be starting, it's more important, to finish games. And Jordan Clark is going to be finishing a lot of games for the Knicks, a lot of close games. So that's a really good pickup. And Sonia, the Celtics and the Pacers, they're not, they're long shots to come out of the East now. The Celtics just had a potential dynasty, we thought. Oh, they won the title a year ago. They're favorites to win it this year. Maybe they'll go on a little run, maybe they'll even win 3 in a row, certainly 2 in a row. And now they're rebuilding. They moved on from Porzingis. They moved on from Drew Holiday. Jason Tatum might not play at all next year because of the Achilles. There's a good chance he won't play at all. They moved on from Luke Cornett. So the Celtics, they're not even contenders. And the old standbys, the Sixers and the Bucks, they're no longer contenders, I know Giannis got Miles Turner. He moved on from the Pacers. It was a big surprise he signed with the Milwaukee Bucks. But Miles Turner's not a dominant center. He's a good piece to have, but he doesn't make him, overly relevant. So it's basically going to come down to the Knicks, the Cavaliers, and maybe the Orlando Magic to see who comes out of the East. So the Knicks have a genuine chance, of contending, of playing in the NBA Finals, a very good chance.
Yeah, they really do. And hello to Bistrilla, the birthday guy, and hello to Rick as well. They're commenting, joining J-Train in the comments. Everybody, feel free to join in with us. I'm here with Jack Hirsch, and we're talking NBA right now.
I'm taking a look at Rick's comment. He wants to give Keith credit for saying it's going to be Mike Brown. Everyone knew Brown was one of the names who was on the top of the Knick list. Don't give Keith credit for that. Come on.
You guys going to get Jack routed up before his bedtime.
Give Keith credit. Hey, let Keith predict how many hot dogs Joey Chestnut's going to eat, this Friday and July 4th. hot dog eating contest.
Oh, happy 4th of July to everybody.
4th of July. Wait. It's the third
Friday.
tomorrow, right? The Friday.
It's gonna be when you're on. We'll all be on the air Friday. We'll be wishing everybody a happy 4th on that day. Jack and Keith have their show to kick off the day, and I will wrap it up that night with Friday with the fellas. So it's the all-day show of celebratory stuff here. Jack, I mean, you made some really good points. The East is wide open, especially with all the moving around and the injuries of key players. It's literally for anybody. But I will say this, going back just for a quick second, this Mike Brown move is really no improvement at all. Thibodeau himself did the same exact movements that Mike Brown did with the Kings, and they basically are following the same plight at this point. They have not finalized Mike Brown's contract. But I think what happened, Jack, is they realized that the draft is now over with. Now they're in the midst of, finalizing these last contracts because July 6th is the deadline for that. And they're like, hey, we still don't have a coach. So they had to hurry and scurry and just grab somebody at the last minute. And they really have not vetted him as a coaching candidate for their franchise.
Well, it went on long enough. But you would think the Knicks coaching job, Sonia, is one of the best coaching jobs in all of sports. I mean, what coach wouldn't want to go there? They're ready to win right now. It's not a rebuilding situation. The Knicks have a darn good team, a darn good team, and Mike Brown was, in reality, the most qualified candidate out there. Because if you look at all the assistant coaches, they haven't had Mike Brown's coaching experience. And keep in mind, he's a two-time coach of the year. And that's when he was a head coach, of course. And think about his 4 titles as an assistant. I mean, Mike Brown's a good coach. And he had 2 runs at Cleveland. They let him go when LeBron was a free agent because LeBron wasn't crazy about Mike Brown, but that's LeBron. He's been a little bit of a coach killer throughout his career. So they fire Mike Brown thinking that's going to increase their chances of LeBron staying with the Cavaliers. This was the first go-round before LeBron went to Miami. But LeBron leaves Cleveland anyway, goes to Miami. And then Cleveland hires the guy they fired a couple of years later. That tells you LeBron's fingerprints over. But who does that, Sonia? Who does it? Fires a coach, and then 2 years later, they hire the same guy who, they kicked out the door.
You know what the NBA stands for, right? Nobody's business at all, because they're doing things that nobody understands and they just make it feel like it's nobody's business at all. That's the new acronym for the NBA. I just made that up. So it makes no sense. It's drama. And speaking of drama, Jack, Damian Lillard was waived by the Milwaukee Bucks, and now his name is everywhere as to where he's going to go. Of course, Giannis has spoken out now, talking about how displeased he was, the fact that the Bucks waived him. I mean, where does he go? The Lakers' names are out there. I mean, he did have a torn Achilles in the playoffs, but he's expected to miss next season. So I guess they kind of cut their losses.
Yeah, you got to get me in touch with Damian Lillard. He's the biggest boxing fan of all the athletes in sports. So I got to somehow find a way to hook up with him. He work on glove fists and talk boxing with Frank and myself.
Yes.
When you think, Milwaukee is paying him $122 million not to show up to work.
Oh,
well, he wasn't going to play next year anyway because of his Achilles injury. There's always, I hate to dismiss a player coming off an Achilles injury for a full year, because there's always a chance come playoff time, they'll be healed enough where they can take the court. So I hate to be automatically dismissive, but realistically, that even if Damian Lillard were healthy, it wasn't working out with him and Giannis. It was the idea of the Bucks. Well, we have a star to accommodate a star.
Right.
I think people have a mentality, well, there was Jordan and Pippen. You need a Robin to your Batman. So Damian Lillard was going to be the Robin to Giannis's Batman. It doesn't work that way. I mean, you need a bench, you need depth, you need the chemistry. And like, look at even OKC. Chet Holmgren is a really good player, really good talent, that gray rim protector. But we're not going to call him a star in this league. I mean, I'm kind of tongue-tied on it a little bit because I'm thinking of other examples. You know, you had the year before, you had Tatum, you had Brown, and then you even look at the Knicks team that you have now. You have Jalen Brunson, but you don't quite have the Robin unless you want to make Karl Anthony Towns it. It doesn't always work that way. It just doesn't. You have to be able to use your bench. You have to have depth. And teams are starting to see that. And that was a knock on Tibbs with the Knicks. I mean, just didn't use his bench until playoff time. Then guys like Landry Shepard would come in. But if you're not utilizing these guys the right way during the season, it's like you're hoping to catch lightning in a bottle during the playoffs. And that's not the best formula.
Yeah, speaking of lightning in the bottle, congratulations to SGA. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander agreed to a record-setting. You brought up OKC, so I want to plug this in. 4-year, $285 million Supermax contract extension with OKC, valued over 4 years, Jack. It's going to be the highest single-season average salary in NBA history. Of course, this is adding length to the time of his current contract, which will sign him through 2030-31 season. And this is going to kick in. This contract won't kick in right away, though. The extension's kicking in 2027-28. He'll play out the remaining 2 years of his current deal, which is worth $79.1 million before the Supermax begins. But this is breaking down his salary, Jack. Okay, so say, for instance, now he's got 2 years that his deal is worth $79.1 million for the 2 years he has left. For 1 year, when his new contract starts, he will start at $63 million for the first year alone, Jack.
Yeah, I mean, when you think of it, at the end of that contract, he's going to be playing for something like $1 million a game. But
yeah,
OKC is a young team. They're well positioned. They also signed Jalen Williams to an extension as well. Mm-hmm. They're going to have to deal with Chet Holmgren's, contract as well. And it depends how far teams are willing to go over the luxury tax. I mean, there's certain tiers involved that are a bit complicated. And the Indiana Pacers have been known to be a little tight. They never wanted to go into the luxury tax, more or less. And that's one of the reasons they may have lost Miles Turner, even though they were willing to dip into it somewhat with Miles Turner. But they really got blindsided by Miles Turner. I mean, think of this Indiana Pacer team. They went from one game away from being NBA champions to next season. They got no shot. Halliburton's going to be out. Miles Turner's not with them anymore. I mean, this is not to say they can't surprise us, because Rick Carlisle's a great coach and maybe make the playoffs. It's possible. But, you lose two impact players on your team like that, especially Halliburton. You can only go so far.
Yeah. And speaking of going so far, I want to talk about two different major things right now. And J Train said Shai is set. Shea Butter, of course. OKC is set in the early phase. Do you think it's a dynasty? He put a question mark. Jack, dynasty?
No, I don't. And I don't think they're dynasty. First off, OKC was not truly a dominant team this year. I know they had 64 wins during the regular season. Technically, they were the best team, you could argue, in the NBA. But, the Cavs were pretty similar to them. But come playoff time, Denver took them to 7 games. Okay, Indiana took them to 7 games. Dominant teams aren't taken to 2 elimination games in the series. And this OKC team, the way they're constructed right now, they're about as good as they're going to be. They're not likely to improve, but they can stay on the same level, and that's a championship level. But if you look at some of the moves that some of the other teams have made, they'll be good for some years. But I'm not talking about dominating. This isn't the Chicago Bulls that we're talking about, with Jordan, Pippen, who are better than the other teams who have an edge. And, if you're asking me for an early prediction now, this might surprise you. Coming out of the West, if you want an early prediction, it's very hard to repeat. Very hard to repeat. Look out for the Dallas Mavericks. They got the big man off the bench. Lively, Gafford, Kyrie Irving. I have to assume going to come when he comes back. From the knee injury, he's going to be the Kyrie of old. And this is under the assumption that Anthony Davis stays healthy. I'd look out for the Dallas Mavs.
Well, J Train and B Striller are talking about the youth of OKC. J Train saying, Jack, Jalen and Shed are young. You don't think they have the room to become dominant? Striller saying OKC is a young team.
Yeah, no, listen, you're talking dynasty. That's all I'm talking about. Is OKC going to win another championship? Let's talk the next 5 years. If you're asking me, do I think OKC is going to win 3 championships in the next 5 years? Heck no. And Houston, I'm sorry about that, Brian. Absolutely, Houston.
That's from Jay.
Okay, it's going to be a serious threat to unseat, OKC in the West. Dallas, Houston. Listen, when I said Dallas, I'm looking at them as kind of maybe a dark horse favorite. To me, they're not such a dark horse. If I had to go out on the limb right now, I might say, Dallas is going to come out of the West. Come to preseason, I might say it's Houston. I might say it's OKC. But the point is, this isn't like what happened in the East this past season. The Boston Celtics were clear-cut favorites to repeat. Clear-cut favorites, not just favorites. OKC is favored to come out of the West. Favored, but it's not clear-cut. It's not clear-cut at all.
Yeah, I don't know, but so he gave that comment. Let's segue here, Jack. Still talking to NBA, of course. Now, Greg Popovich is the career winningest coach, but the NBA adjusted 77 games he missed last season and credited them to the new coach, the new permanent coach, Mitch Johnson, when Popovich stepped away. I mean, he stepped away because he was sick. He had a stroke. He had to step away.
Right. But if he's not on the bench for the games, how are you crediting him with the wins? I don't get it.
That's true.
He shouldn't be credited with the wins. He wasn't on the bench. Who was the coach that was on the bench?
I thought you might have a little empathy because it's kind of like being on FMLA.
I have a lot of sympathy.
It's like being on FMLA with your job. Like, say, for instance, you're working your 9 to 5, and I know because I've taken FMLA. And say my firm gets a major win, and I've worked this file up to the point of it being ready to settle. And it goes to court, and they settle, and they win a really big lawsuit. I'm going to at least get some of that credit because I've worked the file up to that point to get it ready for court, right?
Give Coach Pop all the credit for helping develop players. Don't give him the victories. Give him the credit. I go along with you.
I'm still going to take
but he wasn't on the bench. He wasn't on the bench. Let me ask you this, okay? Let's say football, for example. If a coach isn't on the sidelines for the game, how do you give him credit for getting a win there? If one of his assistants,
that's true. I guess
it was the right decision. It was the right decision to make, and I don't think Coach Pop would want to win.
He's still the winningest coach, even without those 77. So kudos to him. Let's talk about LeBron.
San Antonio Spurs, by the way, we were just talking about other teams in the West. They remind me a little of Jimmy Johnson's Dallas Cowboys because in about a year, we might be talking about who the favorites are to come out of the West. Mm-hmm. And I think San Antonio's name is going to come into discussion. I think they take the next step this year. They become like a playoff team. maybe win a round. They'll make some noise. San Antonio Spurs are going to make some noise this year. Even though it's going to come down between obviously OKC, Houston, and Dallas. I think. And there's the Minnesota Timberwolves. They re-signed Julius Randle. They gave him a 3-year deal. So the Minnesota Timberwolves decided that they're going to run it back. Same crew, which isn't the worst idea. But this is it for Anthony Edwards. I don't want to hear about Anthony Edwards maybe being the face of the NBA unless the Timberwolves, finally make it to the finals for the first time in, team history.
Well, speaking of finals and history and all that stuff, LeBron, I can barely get his name correct now. LeBron James' name has been really big now. He's formally opted into his $52.6 million player option with the Lakers for the 25-26 season, Jack. And it's confirming that he's going to be the first player in NBA history to play a 23rd season. However, despite all of this, there's a lot of speculation and talk about his future with the team. There's trade rumors buzzing about the fact of him being traded. His agent, Rich Paul, is out, communicating, saying they're evaluating what's best for his career at this stage, hinting at a desire to compete for a championship. And let's not forget, Jack, they've already talked about possibly trading Bronny. So it's a lot going on with LeBron right now.
I mean, let's be honest about it. Bronny might turn out to be a serviceable NBA player, serviceable, as a defensive specialist, not to say can't score now and then as well. He missed a year college. He sat on the bench virtually every minute with the Lakers, played in the G League. But the team knows if they get Bronny, independent of LeBron, it increases their chances of getting, LeBron. And only a contender is going to pick up LeBron in all actuality. Can you imagine the Toronto Raptors pick up Bronny? Can you see LeBron going there? LeBron, there's so many contradictions. There's so many contradictions with LeBron. LeBron said, about a week ago, we tend to overrate players based on championships. It's not what it's all about. And he's kind of downplaying how important it is to win a championship, that we shouldn't judge a guy too much based on championships. And he gave examples of Dan Marino never won one, Charles Barkley never won one, Patrick Ewing never won one. But now LeBron is looking, at the Lakers and thinking, they might not be able to win one. He wants to go elsewhere. There might be another underlying thing here, Sonia, and that's Luka. Luka is much more the future of the LA Laker franchise than LeBron is. LeBron's not the future of the franchise. That's why he signed a 1-year deal, LeBron, to give him the option to go elsewhere. And also, we hear reports, and they might be completely inaccurate, that LeBron and Austin Reeves as well, even though Austin Reeves doesn't carry, the weight that LeBron does, obviously, aren't that happy about playing with Luka, the style of game. They don't want to adjust to Luka's name. And LeBron has been the man from the time he's been in high school. When LeBron went to the Miami Heat, he for a while in the beginning, he deferred to Dwayne Wade. In part because him and Dwayne Wade were extremely close on a personal level. They're best of friends. So he didn't mind deferring to Dwayne Wade for a while because the Heat were Wade's team. Wade was, a legend in Miami. But now I think there's some discontent with LeBron. He's kind of seeing what moves the Lakers are making. They got DeAndre Ayton, big man.
Yep,
who's going to play the center position. He has a reputation for being a bit on the lazy side. He didn't do much for Portland, but maybe he'll flourish with the Lakers. Maybe he'll fit into the style. But they're getting an Ayton because that's going to help Luka's game. But we'll see. LeBron keeps talking about year to year whether he's going to retire or not. But if you're LeBron, you do want to go down, in history as the greatest player of all time. And we get these Michael Jordan comparisons all the time, all the time. And but whoever put that down, that's silliness. Well, LeBron can't catch Jordan. Catch Jordan what?
Train.
Yeah, okay, well, J Train. Well, look, Bill Russell won 5 more championships than Michael Jordan. So J Train, Bill Russell's a better player than Michael Jordan because of that. So let's stop the nonsense. I mean, with rings and all. I agree with LeBron on that, but it's not catching a Jordan in that sense, even though LeBron's thinking, get me one more championship, get me closer to Jordan. So J Train has a good point with that's on LeBron's mind. But LeBron, if he keeps playing all these records he has, he's going to put them so out of distance for any other player. And that's his key, to being considered the greatest player of all time. And J Train's absolutely right. The media keeps bringing it up. And it's a media creation, the amount of rings they have. Why can't we judge players on another yardstick? Jordan's been to 6 NBA finals. You know how many finals LeBron's been to? 10. So you get the Stephen A. Smiths of the world who say LeBron is only 4-6 in finals, and Jordan was 6-0. Well, the reason he's 4-6, he's had teams that have had no business getting to the finals.
He brought the team himself. He's the only reason why they got in the finals.
Right. So you're penalizing LeBron when he loses to a far superior Golden State Warrior team, that had Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. You're penalizing him for getting his team to the finals.
Well, it looks like they actually, the Lakers, I mean, it's so like J Train kind of says, the media brings things, but then it's also
J Train is right. It's a media creation. But J Train's
also
too smart for that.
But it's also of note. It's also of note, though, that this is one of the first times that the Lakers have looked to Luka. Like they look like they're trying to build more around him. And this time when LeBron opted in, he didn't do a lot of discussions with the team like he normally does. He normally talks to them about extending his contract before he does whatever he does with it. And then he didn't talk to them that much. He just opted in. And this is very unusual behavior for him because he signed new deals rather than playing out the final year of a contract, Jack.
And now his agent, Rich Paul, is stating they want to see what the Lakers are going to do going forward. What the Lakers have going for them with LeBron lives in LA. Mm-hmm. If he's going elsewhere, he's got to, pack up, go whatever. And Cleveland would be a good fit to reunite because they have a heck of a team.
To wrap it up, home.
Right. Go back to Cleveland. He would be comfortable with that. And where else would be a good fit? You know what would be a good fit? Where he would fit in really good? Golden State, perhaps.
Oh, he would be fire with Golden State. I would love for him to be there with Steph Curry, Draymond Green. Yeah. Because Jack, the Warriors have not been the same since they split up the Splash Brothers. When they got rid of Jordan Poole, well, I don't want to say got rid of. They traded them. They just have not had the same dynamic in Golden State.
Well, we forget. Well,
Klay Thompson.
Split up. Yeah, well, they split up with Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson elected to go to Dallas. Golden State wasn't anxious to re-sign Klay Thompson. They would have re-signed him at their price, but they didn't push the issue. They said, they more or less told Klay Thompson, look, if you want to stay, we'll have you. You can stay. That's different from telling someone we badly want you to stay. They said, oh, you're welcome to, that's how people are sometimes in organizations. They tell you if you want to stay, stay. They throw it back at the person, at the player. And they didn't make Klay Thompson feel like he was really appreciated for all his years of service. But in defense of the Golden State Warrior organization, Thompson's performance there at the end was kind of mediocre. He wasn't the same player as before coming off the injury. He'd get very offended because Charles Barkley said Klay Thompson's not the same player he was before. Barkley didn't say anything wrong. So these NBA players, they get insulted. Prove the commentator wrong. Show up and be your old self. But Klay Thompson wasn't, and they weren't like the Splash Brothers, as we knew.
That pond was drying up. That splash was drying up.
Yeah.
It went from a splash to just a teardrop.
Yeah.
All right. So as we segue into some MLB news here, Jack, such a great time. This time is flying by. We have about 20 minutes left.
Something, Sonia, I just realized, backtracking very slightly. I'm talking about the Dallas Mavs before you brought up Klay Thompson. And I'm talking about their bench, Cooper Flag, Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis, Lively, Gaffney. And I didn't even mention Notice I didn't mention Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
And he's he's going to start for them in all probability and be the first guy off the bench. So that should tell you something, because if Klay Thompson was the player he was, he'd have a major impact on Dallas. Major.
I literally forgot, honestly, Jack, that he had gone there until now that we're talking it through, because it didn't dawn on me either when you were talking about, watch out for the Mavs, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, snap, Klay Thompson. So, yeah, but that's just proof that sometimes, kind of like we talked about LeBron getting teams that had no business in the playoffs there, sometimes it's that impact player that makes a difference on the team.
Yeah, you get like these little moves off the bench. Like Brook Lopez, he's been around forever. He just signed with the Clippers. And we talked about coaches before, Jeff Van Gundy. He's a defensive coordinator for the Clippers. I don't get what that is, a defensive
I don't even know what that is for the NBA.
I mean, how do they rotate when the Clippers are back on defense? Oh, the Clippers resigned James Harden too. Harden had a good year last year, actually. We talk about teams coming out of the West. Kawhi Leonard, I heard, working really hard this off season. Maybe the Clippers will surprise us. So the West is lively.
Yeah, the West might be the best. It might not be the beast of the East no more. We might be looking at and you talk about dynasty, we may be seeing another Western Conference championship next year too. That may be building their own dynasty, that the championships are coming out of the West.
No, they've only won 1 year in a row. So
but I'm saying next year, with the East being so injured right now, it's a lot of key players in the East injured. This thing could run right on back to the West. I'm not saying OKC, but look at Dallas, like you said. Yeah. All right.
No, agreed.
Yeah, good plug there, Jack. All right, the 2025 MLB All-Star Game starters have been revealed, with Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani leading the votes. The Dodgers have 3 All-Star starters for the first time, Jack, since 1980.
Well, the Dodgers themselves seem like an all-star team. Right before we went on the air, Sonia, I can't resist but taking a little peek because the Blue Jays were beating my Yankees 8-0. And right before we got on the air, the Yankees scored 6 runs and it was 8-6. But the Blue Jays are up 9-7 right now.
That's a close game.
The Dodgers are the clear favorites to win the World Series. I realize in baseball, anything can happen. Anyone can beat anyone else. But they're so loaded, unless they have a lot of injuries.
3,000 strikeouts at Dodger Stadium. That's a milestone by itself.
Well, Clayton Kershaw, he's been injured a lot, and he's just an extra piece, like a bonus to have for the Dodgers. The Dodgers are like all set, basically. And, Ohtani's even starting to pitch.
Yeah.
And he got a pitch close to 102 miles per hour.
It was 107 the other day. I was like, wow.
Not 107 miles per hour.
107.8.
No one has ever thrown 107.
107.8. Or was
no
it 103?
one threw, no.
103?
You're probably thinking of his bat velocity. When he hit the ball off the bat, they have a way of seeing how hard it goes off the bat.
I'm gonna look and see because I thought they had him the other day for 10 something. I'm gonna see.
Yeah, 101.7. 101.7. He threw that hard.
101.7.
Sounds
You're
like
right,
a radio station. 101.7.
Sounds like it. Let's see. What's up, Rick? Rick says, Jack, you may be able to help Sonya with Sonya's. You may be able to help with Sonya's training. Looks like some boxing drills in there and using the medicine ball. Yes, I was. Thank you, Rick. Thank you. So Jack shouted that out.
I like Rick. Sonya's got a pretty good coach. I mean, he seemed to be giving it the right directions during the boxing part of it. But for conditioning, the two best sports would be going through the drills that boxers go through and swimming. Those would be the two best sports. Oh, did we lose Sonya? We live here? I can talk myself here. I think Sonya's coming back. I mean, Sonya's bailing out on us the same way the Carolina Panthers bailed out on their city and their franchise. Okay, live. I'll take it myself. I mean, how much time do we have? Well, about 12 minutes here. That's good. I could do a little review, not with the scores here. The Mets are winning the second game of their doubleheader 6-3. Now, over the weekend, the Mets, they got swept by the lowly Pittsburgh Pirates, okay? And the Mets have been on a terrible run. And to get swept by the Pirates.
Not so fast, Jack. I heard the shot you took at my Panthers. Not so fast.
Yeah, well, you got off to a good start like the Panthers might get during this season, and then might maybe say, I will say this, for the Panthers, they're going to finish ahead of J-Train's team, the New Orleans Saints.
J-Train, I know you're on here. He cannot resist the dig at the New Orleans teams. If it's not
they're
not
good. No,
it's the Saints or whoever else they got down there. Okay, listen to this, Jack. Let me ask you your question. Let me ask you your opinion about this. So talking about baseball, right? Yesterday, I didn't pay attention to this until I was listening to, must have been ESPN, and they named it July 1st, actually, in New York, Bobby Bonilla Day. It's literally the Mets making annual. So for people that don't know about it, I think I'm frozen again. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but we can hear you. We hear you fine, though. You're frozen, and there she goes again with Sonya. This is Sonya's show. Sonya gave me a nice lead-in, though. I got to thank Sonya, even if she, froze for a little while. Bobby Bonilla Day. Yeah, that's a good topic to bring up. Bobby Bonilla originally was owned when he played, what was it, 30 years ago or whatever, 35 years ago. He was owed $5.9 million. And instead of getting the money in a lump sum, the Mets offered to pay him like $1.2 million a year for X amount of years. That runs through 2035, a crazy amount of years. Now, the Mets thought they were doing good business because they had Bernie Madoff, the big crook who pulled a Ponzi scheme, who'd be investing their money. So they're on the hook for $1.2 million every July 1st, approximately $1.2 million. So the new owner, Steve Cohen, knows what he inherited. So he wants to have fun with it. Call it Happy Bobby Bonilla Day. It's extra happy for Bobby Bonilla. You want to know what people don't realize, Sonya?
I know.
Bobby Bonilla, you're right.
He's gonna walk out. He's gonna walk out instead of the $5.9 million up front. He's gonna have received over $30 million from the Mets.
But more than that, Sonya, people don't realize Bonilla played for the Orioles, and he's getting about $500,000 a year from them too.
Yep, from 2004 all the way up to 2028, he's getting $500,000, and he's getting $500,000 a year. I mean, he's the real MVP because, like you mentioned, with this Ponzi scheme, they felt like if they negotiated it with this 8% interest rate, that it would pay back out to them. But he's going to continue to get paid for another 10 years, Jack, from the Mets and another 3 years from the Orioles. So Bobby Bonilla is stacked. I'm talking about whoever negotiated that. This started in 2000, and he deferred his payments until 2011 with the interest rate. If he had gotten paid up front, he would have had 5.9. He's got 6 times that amount of money, Jack. That is insane. He's the real MVP because of being so smart to negotiate that.
I don't know why more players don't do that. It kind of gives you a guarantee. I understand you take your money up front, the way you could invest it, this and that, because deferred money, isn't, it doesn't get the same interest. Listen, virtually every working person who lives a long life, they make $1 million over their work career. If you add in all the money they make year after year after year, by the time they, leave, this earth here, they've made a lot of money actually, but in reality they haven't, because they're getting it in the smallest sums all the time, as opposed to if someone got the money all in one lump sum, the way it draws interest and so on. But it was a great move by Bonilla's agent. And Shohei Ohtani did the same thing. Ohtani's getting $70 million a year from the Dodgers, but he's only taking $2 million a year. He's letting them defer $68 million a year that he's going to get later, because Ohtani has all these endorsements, money's getting from that. So he doesn't need the money right now. So for him to join the Dodgers, that's how they work things out.
Yeah, he's really smart. And let's see. B said that would have been his birthday was on Bobby Bonilla Day. Yep, sure was. I thought about that. He said it would have been a nice birthday gift for him and a great annuity. Jack, as we got about 7 minutes left, I've got to get your opinion on something. So if you have not been following, just let me get all this out and then I'll get your opinion on it, okay? The next thing we're going to talk about is sports related. There is a gentleman that had dreams of becoming the first African-American majority of an NFL team. He also has connections with the New York Jets. He's been interested in partially owning them because of his roots to New York. He's made significant tributes and contributions totaling over $1 million to Jackson State University's football program when Deion Sanders was there. He doesn't have a specific team, but he had dreams of playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers if he had not gone into the music profession. I am talking about none other than the courtside person who's always at the Knicks, Heat, Los Angeles Lakers, Clippers games because of his various properties that he owns there. None other than Sean Diddy Combs. And so even though this is sports related show, this is our small segment because he is connected with wanting to be interested in purchasing teams. In fact, when the Panthers were up for sale from Jerry Richardson, allegedly Combs had put in his bid to purchase the team before David Tepper did. I think now, I don't know what type of shamble we would have been in if he had been successful in purchasing it, especially after today's trial wrapped up. 7 weeks of trial. Today, the jury delivered a split verdict. They acquitted him on the more serious offenses of racketeering and 2 counts of trafficking in sex related to Kathy Ventura and a woman identified as Jane, the singer Kathy, of course. But he was convicted on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution because he was flying people, including girlfriends, and paying them and sex workers across state lines for various encounters, a violation of the Federal Mann Act. Now, he was denied bail. His defense, of course, argued for bail at the end of his trial today, saying that he, was not convicted on the harsher offenses, the more serious offenses, but he's going to be sentenced here shortly, with each of those potentials carrying a maximum sentence of 10 years. He's been in custody since last September, so he's going to get a little bit of time served, but his sentencing date is proposed for October 3rd. So at a minimum, he's going to probably be doing a couple of more years there amidst all these ongoing lawsuits. What were your thoughts?
We don't know what ruling the judge is going to give, but the judge is keeping him there, in jail till October.
He's been found guilty. This is the sentencing. The sentencing phase is October 3rd. The sentencing,
yeah. Mm-hmm. The one thing I don't understand, I can't see for the life of me, is him being a flight risk. Where's he going to go in this day and age with social media? Is he really going to run to one of these third world countries and spend the rest of his life there? Where's he going to go? It's so easy to track someone down these days, especially you're a high profile person like that. Come on. I mean, but think of this, Sonia. And I'm not passing judgment, what the NBA
we know that's the disclaimer. We got you.
Yeah. But you're going to have a case in the NBA. He went on an NBA team in the future of a player beating on a woman, kicking on the ground, smacking her, tossing it to the ground, and all. And what's the league then supposed to do if they allow Sean Diddy Combs to become an owner? I mean, are they supposed to then, let the player slide, which they never would? Look, but then again, there's due process. I mean, what are the rules? Should someone be allowed to be an owner? I mean, if they've made a big mistake and they paid for it. But I don't think the image of the league, it would do the image of the league that much good. But you never know the way people rebound from certain scandals, and people just aren't going to hold it against them anymore. I mean, look, Kobe Bryant, look what happened with him originally, but no one talks about that anymore. It's nothing but nice talk as far as Kobe goes.
Sometimes, Jack, because I've seen when they try to do, the mural, the statue of him and his daughter. I was just looking at a comment a couple of days ago. People are always gonna say it underneath somewhere. They're gonna always. My daddy always told me, whatever you do, there's gonna always be somebody that says, "I remember her when," and it's the "I remember her when" that you got to worry about, because this is just human nature. At some point, there's always going to be at least one person that's never going to forget, that's never going to forgive. And with him having such an influence in the entertainment industry for at least the bulk of my growing up in the 90s, his image at a minimum, even if he had walked out of there totally acquitted, videos don't lie. And we saw a lot of videos. We saw a lot of pictures. And with that being said, his image overall has been tarnished. So we see people bounce back, but at what cost?
But you never know, and I know we're running out of time, how someone can bounce back. A case in point would be Michael Vick. Who would have thought he'd get a coaching job elsewhere, work for the NFL, after that horrendous, situation.
Well, Jack, to be fair, Jack, those dog fights happened on his property and he was not even present. So that's the little caveat with him. He wasn't physically there. It was just happening with his brothers on his property.
Right. Sonia, when I'm away, people are going to be having dog fights in my backyard. Give me a break. Come on. That'll be in my backyard. I don't know about it,
His brother lived with him, so
Brother, he had no idea. Come on.
Yes, Jack.
He took accountability, Michael Vick, for what happened. In all fairness, and Roger Goodell thinks he's a wonderful guy, Michael Vick, which he very well might be. But he made an awful mistake.
Yeah, so like I always say, Sean Diddy Combs, just like anybody else, can take accountability and repent and try to do better. but it's just going to be a long haul because this is still fresh. But I had to get your perspective on that, Jack, because you're a New Yorker. And as always, it's great to have you on. We'll see you on the debate show, and we'll see you on the Jack and Keith show that comes on Friday morning at 8 a.m. Jack, always great to have you. Everyone have a great night. Thanks for the likes, loves, and comments, and we bid you all a good night.
Good night.
Winner lose a man a winner, and that's for certain. Never take no program, come me and me own dance. So me go and shut and shut and shut. Tell them I'm a winner, yeah.